Toward the very end of the second book of Kings, the Tanakh, the Hebrew Bible, recounts for us a story about King Josiah, who ruled the kingdom of Judah in the 7th century before the Common Era. He decided to refurbish, to revitalize the Holy Temple in Jerusalem. And he initiated the third capital campaign that's recorded in the Hebrew Bible. And now you're all thinking to yourselves, what were the first two capital campaigns? The first was the easiest. Moshe Rabbeinu asked everyone to step forward and make a contribution to the Mishkan. And they built the tabernacle. Everybody gave, and nobody had complaints because nobody knew what the tabernacle was supposed to look like. And the second capital campaign, that was initiated by King Solomon, the wisest Jewish leader we've ever had. And he decided to take the blueprints of the tabernacle and make a more permanent version of it in Jerusalem and build the Holy Temple. And because nobody had ever seen a temple before, nobody knew that the color should be purple and not blue, and nobody had comments. And that building project went really smoothly as well. And then came King Josiah. 200 years the Jewish people had known the Holy Temple. And you can feel in the text a nervous energy about King Josiah at the beginning of his reign deciding that after 200 years, the seats in the Holy Temple lacked a certain degree of cushion. The text tells us that King Josiah hired contractors, carpenters, laborers, masons. And they began, according to the book of Kings, they began to break the walls. And then word arrives to King Josiah from the high priest Hilkiah that inside the wall of the temple, they have found a Torah scroll. Some modern scholars theorize that the scroll was actually the book of Deuteronomy found for the first time, and some modern scholars think that it was, in fact, the Torah that had been lost to Israel for quite some time. For our purposes tonight, what's important to keep in mind is that the process of rebuilding and revitalizing is essential to finding new Torah. We have to till the soil to plant new crops, and we have to build and rebuild community over and over again to revitalize our tradition. This community has been blessed throughout the years to have rabbis and teachers that can relate our values in new, innovative ways for each generation. This community has been blessed to showcase cantorial voices that carry our liturgy in new melodies decade after decade. Our community features multi-generational families who take great pride in returning to this campus generation after generation. For all of these reasons, our most sacred spaces need to be rebuilt to appeal to new generations. From time to time, these walls need to be broken down so that new Torah can in fact emerge. What is the new Torah for this age? Well, I believe it's a Torah of connections. In an era where it would have been much easier for all of us to spend this evening lying in bed looking at our cell phones, we decided to get dressed up and enter this grand space and come together. And I'm proud to say that this community has made that decision. Shabbat after Shabbat, holiday after holiday, program after program, since we have inaugurated this gorgeous sanctuary space. Ours should be an inspiring Torah of support for one another, for Jews everywhere, and especially for the state of Israel. Ours should be a welcoming Torah that opens our doors to visitors and encourages them to learn more about us, convinces them to stand with us for our causes, and even convinces them to join our people. Each of the stories I mentioned, Moses in the Mishkan, Solomon in the temple, Josiah in the refurbished temple, each story that begins a new chapter for our people, for our narrative, requires leadership, and it also requires resources. From the moment I started here, I found warmth and support from Rita and Jack Cinder, from Risa and Jerry Niznik, and from Irene and Howard Levine. Their collective commitment and support for this synagogue spans decades. Their devotion should stand as an inspiration for all times. Their three commitments made possible a building campaign that has touched almost every square foot of this campus. The Cinders provided a main entranceway and an atrium to serve as a welcoming, calming, beautiful first impression. The Nizniks provided for an inspiring sanctuary of tomorrow, worthy of the aspirations of this community. The Levines provided for a community center gymnasium more beautiful than the Staples Center, because it's Staples Center with an Aron Kodesh at center court. And I also want to thank Nancy Sher-Cohen and Jeff Levine for welcoming me into the building campaign and introducing me to so many stakeholders. Nancy and Jeff always encouraged me to dream and to explain those dreams to all of our donors. And this campus now stands as proof that dreams do in fact come true. When we revitalize our sacred spaces, when we inaugurate a new chapter of our history, when we courageously commit ourselves to breaking open the walls, we find the strength of our tradition pours out. That updated tradition should speak to these times. So as Rabbi Feinstein mentioned, the proof of our success isn't the screens or the comfortable chairs or the beautiful woodwork. The proof of our success is all of the young people who entered this room to learn to pray with us, who hear the stories of our tradition, the new families who apply to the ECC, who choose this community because of its esteemed reputation and also because of its very contemporary appeal. The proof of our revitalization is the life that fills these hallways every hour of the day. The proof is the Torah that spills out of this campus throughout the valley and throughout Los Angeles. The proof of the success of our honorees tonight is that the Nizniks, the Cinders, and the Levines helped inspire an entire community to step forward and give generously. At this time, I'd like to ask everyone in this room who has ever contributed to any phase of the building campaign to please stand now and be recognized. You may be seated. Each contribution matters. Each contribution helped us renew our dedication for the next generation. Each contribution helped us pierce old walls and allow new light and new Torah to pour forth. It's at this time that I'd like to welcome up each honoree and show our appreciation with a special gift, a special mezuzah. Your support has been a blessing for our communal home. We hope that the mezuzah blesses each of your homes as well. The mezuzah is mounted on a piece of Jerusalem stone that matches the wall behind me, as was explained by our executive director, Matt Weintraub. In that way, we hope to honor you with a connection to our most sacred space and our most sacred place. Each of you, Jerry and Risa, Rita and Jack, Zichrono Livracha, and Irene and Howard, have been blessings for our community. We thank you for your continued support. We thank you for allowing us the ability to gaze into an exciting next chapter for Valley Beth Shalom. It's now my honor and my privilege to welcome up the Levines.